All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Matt Moen, VP of Sales at TradeCentric. I'm joined by Tom Roberts, our Chief Marketing Officer. I'm really excited to have this discussion with everyone today. Tom's going to be covering 4 key trends in B2B e-commerce that are driving and influencing the way B2B companies make decisions on purchasing, make decisions on technology, and ultimately partner with others in the space. Couple quick tactical things. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Put your email address in there as well. We can go ahead and follow up. You can also connect with Tom or I on LinkedIn, and we can pick the conversation up there. And then lastly, and we'll share this email address at the end, you can email info@tradecentric.com. So before we hand it over, just a quick overview on who TradeCentric is. I think everybody knows, but certainly want to provide some context. So we are the global leader in B2B e-commerce and e-procurement integrations. We transact billions of dollars of orders across our platform, and that's across thousands of transactions with thousands of customers that we're connected to. So our real goal is to help both our supplier and buyer partners realize the goal of connected commerce. So again, happy to have everybody here. I'm going to turn it over to Tom now to walk through the rest of the presentation. So Tom, take it away.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it. Thanks. And as Matt said, I'm Chief Marketing Officer for TradeCentric. So if you knew us as Punch Out to Go, and then we became TradeCentric, I'm the culprit. If you don't like it, you can email me. If you do like it, you can also email me. Happy to take your questions about that transition, which we did last June. So I am going to go through our perspective, which is a fairly unique perspective because we deal with thousands of buyers and thousands of suppliers, both as customers, then also on Matt's side of the world as prospects. We talk to them all day, every day about what they're doing to try and improve both their buying experience for buyers as well as selling experience for suppliers. So the first trend that we're seeing is really a requirement, really has been going on for more than a decade, that buyer behavior is changing. And it's changing in a number of ways. But from our perspective, what's happening is that buyers more and more are trying to move away from slow manual procurement processes. And they've been investing for more than a decade in digital platforms to improve the purchaser's experience and really to drive business spend management and visibility for the CFO and the finance team and the procurement leadership about what's being spent, when, where, and how to control that. What that's resulted in is vast investments in e-procurement solutions, which those first very large buyers, enterprise buyers, then middle market buyers, and now some SMB buyers are implementing to try and help with their overall procurement strategies and execution. What that's doing for suppliers is really driving requirements to understand how buyer behavior is changing and to try and link those e-procurement solutions, buyers using e-procurement with their commerce solutions. So there's really an integrated, seamless flow and data flow between those two things. We call that connected commerce. So the next piece of that really is thinking about, from our perspective, this is a challenging, 2023 is a challenging business climate. No way about it. No two ways about it. And with a challenging business climate, investments that companies are making are the demand for return on investment from those investments is even greater than it was in 22 and 21 during the pandemic. So really what we see in talking to customers as well as prospects is that they're really only willing to invest in solutions that drive very tangible and significant return on investments. And the 3 things that are connected commerce that really go into that are punch-out catalogs versus hosted catalogs, which allows customers to really see up-to-date information about price and inventory real time in their procurement solutions, and then PO and invoice automation. Now, as Matt said, we deal with a lot of suppliers, and punch-out is an obvious thing that they adopt, but then PO and invoice, I've heard some of them say, that really benefits my customer more than me, and I think that misses the interpretation of what being and positioning yourself as a preferred supplier really means and looks like. Because we know from talking to buyers that PO and in particular invoice automation is a real pain point. Those suppliers that have adopted that and have helped drive efficiencies for their customers end up getting more order flow, getting more overall volume, and then reducing workload for both themselves as well as their customers. The third thing that we're seeing, talking to typically very large enterprises, if you listen to Digital Commerce 360, for example, which we do all the time, the e-procurement world as a channel is very, very, very large, and it's been growing substantially really over the last decade. A lot of very large organizations and enterprises have implemented their own e-procurement integration programs and technologies as suppliers. So they're connecting to their buyers, and some of them are managing hundreds of connections. We're having more and more conversations with those large enterprises that are running those programs and realizing the cost to do that is substantial. And also the talent required to do that is very specific. So more of them are thinking about outsourcing those programs to somebody like a TradeCentric that has a special purpose-built platform that really is a hub and spoke model rather than individual connections to each customer. And then also that's backed up by a platform that for every new connection and every connection in terms of maintenance, there's testing, real-time analytics, visibility into what's going on between customer and buyer, between e-procurement solution and e-commerce solution. And then also has a best-in-class integration service and support team that has been trained and really driven toward excellence around both implementing and then managing these integrations. The fourth thing that we see as a trend, which is kind of an unfortunate issue, is really an outgrowth of the pandemic, is really supply chain disruptions, which we believe in the near term, which we define as the next 12 to 24 months, are not going to dissipate. If you think about it, some of those things have mitigated, but then other things have taken their place, like the conflict in Ukraine, like inflation, like some of these banking disruptions which we've seen, which have had impact on various different places. So we see that as not changing. And how do we fit, and how does our perspective fit within that? We see that more and more organizations, especially on the supplier side, are trying to transition themselves across what we call the e-commerce digital maturity curve. And let me define that for you. So e-commerce 1.0, hey, you adopt an e-commerce platform from one of our many partners, you get a systems integrator to implement it, and then you try and get customers to use it. That's e-commerce 1.0. E-commerce 2.0, you've really built out an entire program, and you have lots of your biggest customers as well as more and more of your mid-sized customers using that platform. The third piece is really to recognize what we've talked about here as connected commerce, or e-commerce 3.0, and recognizing and outfitting yourself and your customers to be able to do business by linking e-procurement solutions directly to e-commerce platforms, and then automating the information flow around all those transactions. So around purchase order automation, purchase order acknowledgement, shipping notification, invoice automation, et cetera, which really sort of links and binds buyer, supplier more tightly together as connected commerce, or e-commerce 3.0. So in summary, we see, again, these four trends are that more and more buyers, more and more suppliers are making significant investments to respond to changing buying behavior. And we don't see that buying behavior change slowing down at all. E-procurement solutions are becoming more and more prevalent. Only investing in e-commerce solutions and technologies that drive very tangible ROI. Last year, we did a study with a company called Hobson & Company, which is an independent third-party consulting company, that proved out that ROI that comes from things like punch out, PO, and invoice. That's all available on our website. So I welcome you to go ahead and download that and take a look at it. Reach out to us if you'd like more information about that. Finally, for very large organizations running their own programs for integration, makes more sense more and more to outsource rather than continue to internalize that. And finally, supply chain disruptions are not going to mitigate in the near term, but a connected commerce sort of practice really helps ameliorate that and mitigate that with real-time information, less friction, and overall more information around the overall transactions. So I'm going to turn it back to Matt for a a shameless plug on our next LinkedIn Live.
Yeah. So shameless plug. First of all, thanks, Tom. That was great information. I'm sure it's going to be useful for everybody that's listening in today. But we'll have another one of these fireside chat LinkedIn Live sessions, April 25th. Joe Henry, who's on my team, will be joining Tom to talk about procurement automation in B2B e-commerce. So hopefully everyone can make that. Going to be a great session. So with that, I think just we'll recap what I mentioned at the beginning. So would love to hear feedback and questions from everyone that listened in. You can connect with Tom or I via LinkedIn or send questions to info@tradecentric.com if you haven't put them in the chat already. So again, appreciate everyone's time. We think this is very relevant information, and hopefully this was helpful. And we'll see everyone on the next session on April 25th. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.